Welcome to episode 98 of the LOTD Pod, the Left of the Dial podcast. I'm Flick, along with Richard. How are you doing, Richard?
Hey, better than most. Can't complain. How are things over there?
I'm coming off of just a horrid allergy attack just moments before we're recording. So, bouncing back, just regaining my strength. It's like getting hit with like somebody just passing you a basketball that is made of kryptonite, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think from what I remember about Superman and his reactions to kryptonite, he drank a lot of water. He's like, oh, there's probably going to be kryptonite if I go on a hike, so I'm going to hydrate. Really, really go for it.
Yeah, that kryptonite's always out there when you're hiking.
Yeah, no kidding,
Tough
man.
to avoid it.
Yeah. So I hope you feel better. And one of the things that always makes me feel better is listening to the Velvet Underground.
Yeah, or almost, in this case, almost listening to Velvet Underground.
Kind of. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are we talking about today?
Today, it is another Covers for Lovers episode. We haven't done one of those in a pretty long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So yeah, Velvet Underground is the subject matter today. So it's covers of the Velvet Underground. And so we've each made playlists. Mine's about 14 songs. How long is yours?
I tried to get it to as close to 45 minutes
Okay.
as possible.
Yeah, so we might not discuss all of the songs on our playlist today, but we'll see how that goes. And you can find our playlist on Spotify. My playlist is called Velour Underground.
Clever.
Covers for Lovers. I try. And what is yours called, Richard?
Mine is called Velvet Underground Gold Mine, LOTD Pod.
Yeah, and so yeah, you can find those on our Spotify on our profile page. You can also, if you don't already listen to our show there, you can listen to it there as well. So yeah, search LOTD Pod on Spotify.
Right on. So
right.
what is it about Velvet Underground covers? Why are there so many of them, and why are they good?
That's interesting because I don't know. Don't necessarily know why there are so many Velvet Underground covers as opposed to, like, there's so many bands that have good songs that don't get covered. Velvet Underground doesn't seem to have that problem. So, do you have a theory on it?
I do, yeah. And I think part of it is that the Velvets were such a cool band and had a really unique sound, but if you look at the chords to a lot of these songs that are just classic, beautiful songs, All Tomorrow's Parties, for instance, kind of a beginner guitar player can play it. So
yeah, it's accessibility. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the difference between a Velvet Underground cover and like somebody covering Limelight or something like that. Yeah, much more accessible, and but it's interesting how like say with Big Star, everybody seems to want to cover 13, and there's all kinds of other Big Star songs that don't really get covered. Velvet Underground, it's just like everything in their catalog seems to have a cover by somebody.
I think that's another another thing too, is that so some of the songs are really easy to play, and some of the songs are just really, really fun to play if you're in a loud rock and roll band. And also there's that whole thing, that the cachet of Velvet Underground, like, you kind of know that you're in the club if you are like let's say in like the 70s, you're in a scrappy rock and roll band, and like some kind of obscure Velvet Underground tunes, when the Velvet Underground were not really understood as being like, the classic band that we know them as today. It's they didn't sell a lot of records. They weren't that popular. The tunes that we think of as hits, came along a lot later. And I'm sure that although indie rock, record store types think of them as hits, like if you look at the bottom line, they probably weren't. Um, and and yeah, so the minute that you cover Velvet Underground, you're paying homage to like this cool part of rock and roll history where Andy Warhol was there, and there were psychedelics and light shows and all this cool stuff happening. And Velvet Underground, like the coolest band, regardless of whether the song is good or not, they were always cool. So you're like instantly in the club if you make it known that you're a fan and or like a worshiper.
Yeah, I guess I don't like to think of it in those terms because I don't. I think of when you talk about clubs, I always think about myself as the person who isn't cool enough to be in the club.
Well,
So
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like if
yeah.
you like you're fronting a rock and roll band in like 1980, and you're playing a little club, and everyone's into whatever's on the radio, and you play a Velvet Underground cover. Like
Mhm.
it's not a club in an exclusive way. It's like you're putting that signal out to your tribe.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, I think that that's kind of the part of the appeal of covers in general.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when you see a band that like you're just maybe taking an interest in a certain band, and then you go see them live, and then they play a cover of a song that you like that is one of those songs that not everybody knows. Then you're like, okay, well, my instincts on this other band that's covering this, my instincts are correct on them. There's a reason why I ended up going to see them live. Um, so yeah, I think that, but yeah, it's just kind of like the contrast I was making though is I think similarly of Big Star, but with Big Star, everybody seems to go to 13. Um, there are like a million covers of 13, but where are the covers of um, what's going on or something like that?
Yeah, next time I run into Peter Buck, I'll ask him. So
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting, and the covers, like I think along the lines of what you're talking about, like the covers go back all the way to when they were, maybe just disbanded. When you had David Bowie covering them, you had Mott the Hoople covering them, and uh, the Modern Lovers, all of those, like the big saying about Velvet Underground is always that everybody that bought a Velvet Underground record when they were going formed a band of their own. So yeah, that's kind of the part of the appeal of the Velvets.
yeah.
So did you want to kick it off? Do you want me to kick it off?
Uh, why don't you go ahead? Because I see that we have some overlap, which is totally cool because the songs that overlap are keepers for sure.
All right. Well, the first one on my list is the first one on my list because it's the first. It's not the first time I ever. It's the first time I ever heard this particular song, but it's not like the first Velvet Underground song I ever heard. Um, First Velvet Underground song I ever heard was Heroin, and that didn't necessarily pull me in to being a fan or anything. Like I thought it was a pretty interesting song, but I wasn't like instantly a Velvet Underground fan. But from there, I heard like when I bought Sister Lovers by Big Star. When it was on a Ryko disc CD.
Oh yeah.
Um, I heard the cover of Femme Fatale by Big Star, and from there is like, I mean, this was like when I was newly, getting into Big Star, and then quickly I was like, well, I gotta check out, I guess, more Velvet Underground, and so I did, and became a fan of both of those bands right around the same time, but it was one linking to the other, is because of the Big Star cover of Femme Fatale that was where I knew I had to hear more, get to know Velvet Underground better. So that's why it's number one on my list.
Yeah, that's nice. It's a cool version. I forget who's singing the lead on it.
And Alex Chilton.
Oh yeah, cool.
And Lisa Aldrich is doing the vocals, on the chorus.
That's what I was asking about. Yeah, cool.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure, but yeah, Alex Chilton is singing the verse, and well, I guess the chorus is kind of both of them singing together, but yeah, he's singing the verse and she's singing the chorus.
Yeah, that's such a nice little interlude in that record. That like messy, weird, cool record.
One of the best records, masterpiece.
Yeah,
I mean, all the Big Star albums are masterpieces.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I see some logic maybe in how this progresses from Femme Fatale.
Oh, and in my list?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is a bit. I mean, so should I just go into my second song? Because I think that's what you're alluding to, but it really is. Yeah, I mean, Pale Blue Eyes by R.E.M. from Dead Letter Office. At that point, I already had like Velvet Underground and Nico, but yeah, I think R.E.M.'s cover of Pale Blue Eyes led me further into Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I think that I definitely heard REM before I heard Velvet Underground.
Oh,
but
yeah, me too. But Dead Letter Office isn't one of it's not one of the first REM records that you go out and buy.
It for me it kind of was because when I was getting into them, it was like kind of automatic for the people, and I think people had picked up this record and found it to be like too weird or something. So you could find it used a lot. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed that, and I picked out another track from that album, their version of "There She Goes Again." Both really really cool. I mean, there's so much similarity in you mentioned Big Star, and I think Big Star, Velvets, and REM are that's such a cool constellation of jangly indie bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean there are both the Velvet Underground and Big Star played a big part in what REM was. It definitely feeding into that. And obviously, Velvet Underground played a part in what Big Star was doing.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, so I really love these. I think one of the things I like about Dead Letter Office with the covers is that, like, I don't exactly know the backstory of some of these, but I think that to my ear they sound like they were recorded while everyone was like having fun and not expecting it to be like a single or something. There's like a lot of abandon in it.
And it also shows like I mean to me it tells a lot about Peter Buck, because Peter Buck I always saw him as like the real music guy in the band. And he's, I mean, they're doing they're doing the Velvet Underground covers, but they're also doing Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. And it's just kind of just like I like that whole like this. The Velvet Underground stuff is really cool, but it doesn't have to be all about being cool either. Um, and so it's just I like that sort of juxtaposition where it's just like, yeah, this is about as cool as you can get, but then you don't have to be cool to be good musically.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that R.E.M. really carried with them throughout their run. I was watching the documentary um, about losing my religion on Song Exploder. That's what I was trying to remember, and about how the mandolin riff was inspired by Peter Buck listening to Ryuichi Sakamoto, which was, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's a neat leap from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I'm trying to pinpoint like when I first started listening to Velvet Underground. I think Yola Tango plays a part in it. I think maybe one of the first times that I wanted to really dive into what Velvet Underground were about was after seeing I Shot Andy Warhol, the film of the biopic of Valerie Solanas. Do you know of which I speak?
I know of what you speak. I'm pretty sure I never actually saw it, but I did own the soundtrack. Um,
So
don't remember ever seeing it though.
Yeah, so in the film, the Velvet Underground are played by Yola Tango, and
Okay, I'm pretty sure I didn't see it then.
so yeah, I think that was pretty memorable to me. Kind of there's maybe like a couple scenes set in one of the exploding plastic inevitable be-in kind of experiences, and yeah, another band that really carries that with them. Yola Tango.
Yeah. I mean, I have I'm Set Free. Yola Tango covered Velvet Underground a few times. I have I'm Set Free by them on my list. I mean, I had been listening to Velvet Underground for quite a while before I ever heard this version, but I like it very much, and it's also interesting because they didn't really do anything radical with it, and I still like it a lot. Like usually for me to care that much about a cover version of a song, I really want to hear some kind of unique take on the song. I don't really think that Yo La Tengo did that here, but it's still great. Maybe just because it's a great song, period. It's one of my favorite Velvet Underground songs.
Yeah. And yeah, Yola Tango all day, every day. A really cool band.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got?
So from the covers record, quote unquote, Cat Power with "I Found a Reason," and I would say this is an example of what I was talking about just a moment ago, where it definitely is a unique take on the song, and it's a song that I love the original very much. I think I love this one equally as much, and it's the same song, but they're still quite a bit different from each other. Yeah, just really good take on a great song.
Yeah, I like how simple it is and how short it is too. Like I think that um, with some of the Cat Power covers, they're pretty quick, and they get the idea of the song and the feel of it, and they don't hang out too long. That's how it should be, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I guess getting to the point, getting to the heart of the matter is kind of what it's about. Yeah. Um, yeah. Next on my list, another one that goes back pretty far. I thought about doing Mott the Hoople's version of Sweet Jane here, but I went with Lone Justice's version of Sweet Jane. Uh, but, yeah, it was kind of a tough call. There are a lot of versions of Sweet Jane, a lot of really good versions of it too, but I like this one particularly.
Huh. Yeah, I think I would invite you to take a listen to the Cowboy Junkies version of it, which if
I
you haven't already.
I've certainly heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's I think maybe yeah, two sides of the same coin, but uh always kind of a standout from that record.
Yeah, I mean, to me, nobody really gets it as good as the original version, but yeah, I like the Lone Justice version a lot.
Huh.
It's not as easy a song to cover as I think the average person would think.
There's that little hiccup. Yeah, no one gets that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that, but there's a certain kind of swagger to it that I think is tough to duplicate.
Yeah, man. It's true. Speaking of swagger, someone who doesn't have to try too hard for that is Mick Ronson.
That's right. Yeah. Heaven and Hell. Yeah, I have David Bowie along with Mick Ronson and the Spiders from Mars live in Santa Monica '72. The David Bowie version of Waiting for the Man.
So that's another one where you've got to like really pick and choose which one you want to showcase because
Yeah.
There's a great moment in the Bowie at the Beeb, the compilation of BBC recordings from Bowie, where oh wait, you picked "Waiting for the Man" by Bowie.
Yeah,
I
Waiting
picked
for the Man.
"White Light, White Heat,"
Right. Yeah.
and I had to pick out a couple different versions from that era of Bowie. There's a great part in this cover of "White Light, White Heat" from Bowie at the Beeb where Mick Ronson's about to shred on guitar, and David Bowie goes, "Rono," and he just, bam, just hits it. It's so cool, you know. Wish I was there. Wish I could have been there for that.
Yeah. Both are great. I mean, yeah, Bowie definitely got it. Bowie was an early adapter to the Velvet Underground and um, totally got it. Uh, Somewhat tempted because I love Cheap Trick so much to put the Cheap Trick version of Waiting for the Man, and I guess I could have done that and put had the Bowie White Light White Heat instead of Waiting for the Man. But I really like the Bowie version. But the Cheap Trick version is also interesting, partially because Tom Peterson, the bass player, is the one doing the vocals on it. So tempting, but Bowie had to win out on that one.
Yeah, yeah, understood.
All right. Next, I have I Can't Stand It, the Hot Rats covering I Can't Stand It from Turn Ons. Who are the Hot Rats, you might ask?
I was just gonna ask that. Who are the Hot Rats?
They're an offshoot of Supergrass. So it's it was a covers album that I think two of the members of Supergrass did. I don't know all of the personnel on this, but if you like Supergrass and you like good covers, it's definitely
Which I do. Oh yeah.
really good. I mean, yeah, actually, like among other things, like there's a cover of the Beastie Boys. You got to fight for your right to party, which is arranged as if the Who had originally done. You got to fight for your right to party. So it's a pretty interesting album. But yeah, should yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean they cover Big Sky by the Kinks. They cover the Crystal Ship by the Doors. Love is a Drug by Roxy Music. Bike by Pink Floyd. Pump It Up, Elvis Costello. The Love Cats. The Queen Bitch. Up the Junction. A lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
It's really it's a great album. Is you know it, like yeah, you might discount a covers album. This is an exceptional covers album though.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Okay, next on my list, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark with their cover of Sunday Morning, which I like quite a bit. Then from Stumble and Fall by Cordeline, I have Who Loves the Sun. I think the only song on here that is from a Velvet Underground tribute album is Abby Travis doing New Age from American Velvet, a tribute to the Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I was looking at that record. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. And from This Is Our Music, I have Here She Comes Now by Galaxy 500.
Of course, yeah, good one. Overlooked that one. Kind of double dipping with the Dean Warham, but that's cool. That's cool.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
From the Bride Strip Bear, I have Brian Ferry doing What Goes On. And let me see. Your boy, I have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds doing all Tomorrow's Parties.
Truly terrifying version that I do love.
Terrifying, but also kind of still melodic. It retains the melodic sensibilities of the song. But then the original is a bit, there's a darkness to it. Even though
with John Cale in the band, yes, definitely.
Yeah,
that is, I think, the coolest era of Velvet with John Cale, and just hearing how much, if you listen to his solo stuff, just hearing how much discordance and experimentation and like edginess he really brought to the band. It's really, really, kind of a shame that they couldn't work it out, stay together longer in the group. Him and Lou.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Although, I don't necessarily have a favorite album or era or album. I mean, I go back and forth between which is my favorite, and it's just like White Light, White Heat. I feel is not as good as the others, and that's like the only thing. I just partially because there just aren't as many songs on it. Period. Because so the only edge I give to any of the albums is just that White Light, White Heat is just not quite as good as the other ones. Although White Light, White Heat as a song is amazing. But just not all of the other albums are better albums, I think.
Yeah, that one's kind of rushed. Yeah, I think if I had to look at how many times I listened to each one, I think Loaded is on the turntable.
Yeah,
the most.
Loaded can't be denied. I mean, because it is, it lives up to its name. It is loaded.
Yeah, man, it's all killer. It's so good, so good.
It's even it's really overloaded because you take some of the songs that didn't make it onto the album and they're as good as anything that's on the album.
Yeah, man. And then I see that Luna, I think, is another band that I think kind of fits into that, I guess, the kind of quadrant of bands that connecting Big Star and R.E.M. and Velvet Underground and yeah, I mean the guitar playing in Luna is very indebted in some ways.
Oh
I think
yeah.
the Velvets, yeah.
Yeah, and you hear it too because like you go to the original version of Right Into the like they're kind of taking that Velvet Underground guitar song and applying it to a song that you don't necessarily associate that guitar sound with, but it is the Velvet Underground guitar sound and a Velvet Underground song, and just kind of it's kind of paying tribute to the Velvet Underground as a whole, beyond just the song itself, and yeah, and it's Right Into the Sun. So I mean, even though it's on the nose, I can't resist closing out with Right Into the Sun on my playlist.
And I mean, that's a whole other like couple shows that you could do about Galaxy 500 and Luna, but um, Luna as a cover band is really cool. So you might kind of only know covers of them from that version of Bonnie and Clyde from Penthouse, but check out the album Lunified, which is a collection of their cover works, especially their version of Dream Baby Dream by Suicide.
You know who else covered Dream Baby Dream?
Bruce Springsteen.
I was gonna say, I love springing that on. I get pun accepted. I didn't mean that, but I love bringing that up to somebody that would have no idea that ever happened, and probably doesn't believe that it ever happened. But then I mean, we have the internet, so we can always win any argument immediately.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I've heard that, and it's okay. He definitely gets points for knowing about the tune and going for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the kind of punk rock credibility of Bruce Springsteen, kind of surprising sometimes. I think that nice little interaction with Patti Smith that led to her having the song Because the Night is really cool. And it's kind of a famous show that Bruce Springsteen didn't play at with Billy Rancher and the Pilgrims. I think that was the backing band. Kind of a long lost, weird Portland band. And everyone knew that Billy Rancher was not going to make it too long when he decided that he wasn't going to invite Bruce Springsteen up to play guitar, even though Bruce had his guitar with him. Anyway, Luna, great band. Seeing Luna, you really dispelled a lot of images that I had about the band. I always kind of pictured the lead guitarist, Scott Eden, I think his name is, as being the guy doing all the fiddly bits. But in reality, on stage, probably in the studio, Dean Warham does all the fiddly bits, believe it or not.
All right. Well, I'm not going to dispute it.
There you go. There were a couple tunes that I don't know if you don't know about them or if they just kind of got squeezed off. But have you heard I think it's some sort of maybe EP containing "Run Run Run" by Kurt Weill, which is totally rockin' version, totally loud version.
Yeah. Well,
with "I'll Be Your Mirror" by Courtney Barnett.
Yeah, this is super recent. Yeah, and yeah, to just address what you had said. No, I mean, my list is what I consider to be super tight. There's a lot to choose from. There's a giant pool of talent there. But yeah, I mean, my list is an hour long. I didn't really want to exceed that. But yeah, this is all new stuff, and it is good. And these are artists I like. Obviously, Courtney Barnett is one of my favorites. Period.
Yeah, and going back to some discussions we've had recently about Beck, the "Waiting for the Man" version that he has is kind of goofy, but it's really fun. I like it.
Yeah, and Beck, for those who don't know, did had a thing called what, Beck's Record Club? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I was kind of following that for what was that, like 10 years ago? He was doing that.
yeah, I think more than 10, but yeah, he would cover full albums, and one of the albums that he did like full cover versions of was the Velvet Underground and Nico.
I remember there being a lot of kind of eclectic choices. I think there's a Leonard Cohen record in there, but also Live at the
Yep,
Acropolis by
Yanni.
Yanni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So
Yanni. Or by Skip Spence. Um, one of the big ones, but yeah, I think there were at least four of them, and maybe like six or something like that. I think.
yeah, someday we'll have them on vinyl.
Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Going down the list a little bit, you covered a lot of this stuff because kind of similar tastes, but there's some really really good Velvet Underground covers by Julian Casablancas, of all people, who I think a lot of people kind of don't pay attention to, and I really don't anymore. But the two tracks that I found that I just love are his version of Run, 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 and then his version of Venus and Furs totally nails what we were just talking about with how cool John Cale was when he was in the band shredding on viola, you know?
Yeah, and you should mention Julian Casablancas if you don't know what is in the Strokes. For a moment there, I was thinking of the Strokes as something that isn't a current thing, but I guess it still is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think for some people it sure is. And then one of the groups that I follow, which is, you know, you could say mean things about them, but I don't. Is a string quartet called the Midnight String Quartet. You know these guys?
Not by anything other than name, I do believe.
You know when you get into that funk where like nothing you put on sounds good, and it's kind of like this whirlpool of like the next thing is even. Some days you just don't have it, or at least I don't. And so I was kind of reach for these guys. And there's some really thoughtful arrangements of contemporary music by this quartet, including the music of Lou Reed and Velvet Underground. So I have a really nice version of Pale Blue Eyes, which I think this recording has probably been played at some really hip person's wedding at some point. But yeah, check it out.
Probably not the best wedding song though, really.
Well, there are no vocals to it, so I mean, you kind of remove some of the problems with a lot of the songs that they're playing because it's a string quartet. So yeah, like the version of Street Hassle, you could totally play that in at like a shopping mall, and it's not going to freak anybody out.
It's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I love Midnight String Quartet. Their collection of Leonard Cohen songs is just great. Put that on a lot. Yeah, I mean, they're a modern group in the sense that I think that they probably don't have anything physically released. They're kind of the Spotify band, but definitely worth checking out. Pretty eclectic.
And that's the closer, right?
It is, yeah, and but yeah, like you were saying, I mean, the list is it's pretty intimidating. I'm sure you could put together like 2 45-minute sets of just covers of Sweet Jane, easily. And they'd all be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I have a list that is not an official list or anything like that, but just like on my own personal Spotify, I just basically put in every Velvet Underground cover that I know of, period. And it doesn't have to be just the ones that I like the list I put together here. But yeah, let me bring that up to see what the running time is on that one, because I know we're talking quite a few hours. So, oh my God, yeah, I have 445 Velvet Underground covers on that list, and it's 32 hours and 7 minutes. So hey,
Yeah, like a car ride or something, right?
yeah, it's almost a whole work week,
Yeah.
or possibly a work week, depending on your job.
Yeah, man. Well, there you go. So, yeah, I mean, Velvet Underground. If you play guitar, or if you want to play guitar and you love the Velvet Underground, um, definitely look them up. I mean, look up your favorite song on like ultimateguitar.com or whatever, and uh, you'll find out that yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the recorded version, but the
And
the
and
basic
if you
version
like,
is really
and,
attainable. Yeah.
and if you like the song Heroin, notice I didn't just say it, or if you like heroin. Um, if you like the song Heroin, two chords. You just really have to know two chords.
Yeah, it's just what, E minor and C.
I don't remember anymore, but yeah, let me see. Don't know if I could tell you just off the top of my head. Not sure.
Anyway, so yeah, there you have it. Velvet Underground, all day, every day, and then you know, so many cool people kind of in the club. And if you're in the club, doesn't mean it has to be like an exclusive thing, Flick. But
Yeah. What
everyone's welcome.
I want to say it's G and D. It definitely has to be. There has to be a D in there, because I know you do that. One of those chords is a D. I'm pretty sure.
There you go. Well, what are we talking about next week?
All right, so next week it's episode 99, and we're gonna party like it's episode 99.
Whoa, the penultimate episode.
Yeah, and it might not be in a week. It might be on the lookout for that one, because it might be coming down pretty soon. Yeah, little secret. We might have already recorded the next two episodes.
What? I was there.
Yeah, we might have cheated a bit, but
that's showbiz, you know.
Yeah, but we will have episode 99 and episode 100 coming down pretty soon.
Okay, well, as always, Flick, it's fun to hang out and talk music nerdery with you, and we'll see you when I see you.
All right. Yep. See you when you see ya.